Pretty fish. Very pretty fish. What have you got?
The stamp of fish was beginning to rise, which was only a good thing. Soon after darkness fell, Simon's rod roared off, and he was off the mark, a beautiful 3 eels mirror his prize, one that put him, for the time being at least, into the lead.
Yeah, that is mine.
The hat may well be his, but little did Simon know that further up the bank Rob Marsh had just struck into a carp, one that felt like a decent fish. Would the hat be on the move again?
Yeah, so we had a bite the previous morning, so it seemed like it might be morning times for the feeding. So we've got our rods ready, all baited up. We've all got our areas sort of sorted now. Baited up with about 1.5 kilos on each spot. Yes. Woo. 40, 45. Yes. How big was Bondi's?
42.4, mate.
42.4.
Well done, mate.
Excellent. Cheers, mate. Right, that's good.
Nice fish, mate. Quite a smile, mate. You got that silly hat.
Superb.
It's a mint, isn't it?
It's a cracker. Fought well as well. Off the corner of the island again. She drops her gut, she's going to be a big one, isn't she?
Yeah, I thought it was going to go to 50, mate, to start with.
She's got the length and the frame, isn't she?
It's just when you look down, it hasn't got the width.
A few smaller fish came out during the night, but just before first light, it was as if the lake came to life, with bites being reported in almost every swim. Pete Castle was first, and whilst this 26 wasn't about to take the hat, it was the best of a 5-fish haul in his and Joe's swim, and another stunning example of a 3 eels mirror. But back in swim 19, it was Lee Merritt's turn to land a major common.
6:15, small one ripped off. £39.6, so 39.5. So from very similar area to where Rob Ed is, really. Just 20 yards to the left. Same sort of depth, same sort of, yeah, same tactics, same bait. Bit of hemp, bit of dip. Yeah, again, very little bait. Just a couple of scoops each time. Just fishing for a bite really this time of year. So. The mark we're fishing is 95 yards. 95 is not mega distance, but you know, it's especially with the deep water here. They're putting up a good account for themselves. Really good, really good.
So the hat that had previously been with Mark, and then briefly with Simon, ended up with Rob Marsh, although moving around the lake there was still fish to be weighed. The rain had started to fall heavily as Patrice had his first of the week, a humpback common that just 12 hours earlier would have placed him in the lead. All of a sudden, a 35-pound carp was actually the third largest of the week, and as Patrice slipped it back, news came through that Lee Jackson had a fish in the net that could prove very interesting indeed.
My middle rod roared off, and rod fished it's only about 30 yard out on a little clear spot, you know, so despite the fact that you can use boats, I mean, it doesn't alter the fact that the spots are still sometimes close in. And all the time I was playing the fish, it felt a good fish, and then I suppose it fought for about 10 minutes and got it in the landing net. It was only when I went down to lift the landing net I thought, crikey, this is a bit special, this fish, and yeah, sure enough, there it was in the landing net. Big bar of gold, like, you know, 51 pound 7 ounce common, which is my personal best common, you know, by quite a long way as it happens. I mean, I've never ever caught a 40 pound plus common. There we go, second night in the visit and new PB, so I'm well pleased. I'm just waiting for the hat to come around. No, so I'm well pleased. I'm not too bothered if I don't catch anything else. You know, it's made the trip. 51.7. No, 51.7.
51.7 still, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice one, bloke. Oh, it's a big tench though, isn't it?
And just saying to get it back.
One impressive carp.
It is, isn't it? You never had a 40. Gone straight to the 50, eh?
The carp was excreting maggots onto the unhooking mat, yet they weren't a bait being used by Lee.
There we go.
Could it be then that the fish had passed through someone else's swim and helped itself to a free meal?
It is.
Of course, I'm happy for Jacko. It's a great fish to catch. But I have to say that it's a little bit disappointing for me that the fish was feeding on my spot, obviously, because they're not using maggots. And I didn't get a run, or a run from that one particularly. So it wasn't perhaps the best. But nevertheless, I'm very happy for him. It's a stunning fish. But it would have been a little nicer if it had picked up my rig when it was eating all the maggots.
And to complete the set, Paul and George both had a good night's fishing, meaning that fish had now been caught by every pairing.
The island rod went off again. I thought, right, you know, it's just sort of good night's fishing really. Basically hadn't had much sleep, so I was really, really tired. Was playing that, got it in. I think that was another 25. It's quite nice to have one, so we could have one like daytime pictures and so on and so forth. It was nice to get one on the, you know, for the cameras as well.
Just as you was weighing your one, my margin rod went off again, and really pretty fish. I think it's quite a bit different. Really pretty, very dark, sort of winter colours. That was another mid-20 as well, wasn't it?
So the lake finally came to life. Fish all over the place, with the biggest out changing no less than 3 times. It had been a hectic few hours, and many of the anglers chose to get their heads down for a bit of well-earned rest. The rain, which had briefly subsided, came back with a vengeance around lunchtime, causing most to dive for cover inside their bivvies. Rob and Lee are known as the pair who take everything but the kitchen sink when they go fishing, but for their match fishing and on trips like this approach pays major dividends.
When we travel abroad on our own, we've got everything. We haven't got to go up to shops, we haven't got to go for anything, you know.
Now people, when we go away and they come up to us and say, oh, well, have you got this, have you got that? And we say, well, yeah, we have. And we just don't want to be in that scenario, because there's nothing worse if you're out there fishing and you think, oh, I need that, I should have bought that. It affects the whole fishing. Basically bring everything you can.
Yeah, some of these...
Preparation's the number one, isn't it? Baits are air dried so they can go back and be refrozen. You're not wasting anything. It's better to have enough bait. If you run out, it's all over.
Just with the air dry bait, we've bought it on many trips, haven't we?
Yeah.
And all we do is,
just
as we use it,
put some dip on it and re-dry it.
Yeah, just to bring it back to life, really.
Like I say, you can never have enough clothes. Like today's a perfect example. It's rained while we've been catching the fish. It's rained constantly. Then we've done the photographs. Then we've got the rods back out. We're using the boats as well. So you're out in there. Then we're making up bait. We've got soaked. We've had 2 or 3 sets of clothes on today, like I say, and we're still dry, and we've still got more in the van. If you're not happy, if you're not comfortable, when you're cold and you're wet, it ain't no fun, and like I say, you could end up sort of thinking, well, I'm going to go home. So you've got to make sure you've got everything with you. Bondi's already been round and nicked about 6 or 7 things.
Yeah, batteries, head, buckets. You've just come out for the food.
Rain always stops eventually, and with it all forms of life begin to emerge once more. The big fish hat made its way round the lake to keep Mr. Jackson's head warm for a while, whilst the other pairs got on with preparing for the upcoming night. Mark and Miles hadn't caught the previous night, and although they weren't giving up, not everyone was as happy as Lee.
We went for a bit of a spin and just a rest of swim, come back, had a couple of tench straight away. I think we probably should have put some more bait out, because I reckon we got tenched and small fished. I literally wiped us out, I think, so tonight, if that happens, we're going to keep putting some bait out. So
I think even at this time of year you can get through quite a bit of bait. The head of silverfish and tench and bream in here is pretty big, and you know, some of the guys that have caught have put, you know, good 3-4 kilos on each rod. Not necessarily all of boilies, but things like hemp and just particles and that kind of thing. Those little fish definitely bring in the carp, and the guys that have been catching the tench and the bream have then caught carp. Unfortunately, we didn't have anything last night, which is a bit of a surprise. We've got a bit more bait out there, so hopefully we've got something left for when the carp do come along after some of the silverfish. So.
Down in Swim 3, Pete and Joe had been working hard to be ready for what lay ahead, after what had been for them a hectic night, one punctuated with a few carp, together with a number of nuisance fish.
I mean, I've been concentrating on the plateau that I talked about before, and just been keeping the bait going in there, really. It's something that tactic we've used a lot in the past, and we kept saying, didn't we? Sure it'll come,
yeah, keep
sure
it
it'll
going.
come. And even though we were thinking about moving, you know, we still worked out that we could hit that spot from that swim. So sleep deprivation's kicking in. I think we're starting to lose the plot a little bit, but you know, keep going.
Yeah, the big and will come.
Yeah, I think it looks good for tonight. Confident, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Means all the bites are coming at night, so...
especially that sort of first light spot as well, and that seems to be like, you know, you can hear the buzzers going off around the lake, can't you, at first light?
That was a mad thing last night, wasn't it? It was like someone just flicked the switch on, wasn't it?
So, like a lot of other people around the lake, because you could hear buzzers going off everywhere, couldn't you? Had another one at first light, and turned out to be a pretty little one, didn't it?
It was a pretty one, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the ones we had are sort of nice-looking fish, weren't they? Very clean, sort of straight out of the packet look to them.
We just, tonight, we want that big one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Say, what was it, 54, something like that?
Yeah, 54, make it just a bit more untouchable.
Don't like to be too greedy, but, you know.
In truth, everyone had high hopes for the coming night, bearing in mind what had happened 24 hours earlier. The finishing touches were put to baited areas, and people retired in expectation.